I want to bring in now Senior Fellow of the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies, Behnam Ben Taleblu. Thank you so much for joining us.
Great to be with you. Thank you.
So what do you make of this escalation of the tensions in the region, that these latest attacks, and today and in this past week?
Well, for sure, in general, Israel is continuing to target Hamas operatives as well as senior Hamas officials throughout the Gaza Strip. But lest we forget, the war is much, much wider than just between Israel and Hamas, quarantined over to the Levant on the Eastern Mediterranean. Israel, as the Prime Minister has said there, is facing a multiple front war orchestrated by the patron of all of these terror and proxy groups, the Islamic Republic of Iran. And just this past week, after the killing of Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran, presumably by the Mossad, the Israeli intelligence services. The whole spectrum of Iran's political and security elite has been promising revenge, retaliation, bloodlust, in fact, is the word of the week. So it's highly likely that the regime is using this time now to prepare a kinetic or a military option against Israel, much like we saw in April, as well as potentially bringing on more of these fronts like Hezbollah in Lebanon or the Houthis in Yemen online for a more integrated strike. And that's precisely why there are at least 4,000 more U.S. forces in the region, as well as more air and missile defenses being moved into the region as we speak.
And Behnam, initial reports said that a bomb smuggled into a guest house killed the Hamas leader. But now Iran's Revolutionary Guard claims that a short-range projectile was responsible for his death. Why the discrepancy, and why is this important?
You know, often in life, the simplest explanation is the most obvious, and here that is absolutely the case. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the Ministry of Intelligence, and the vast array of security services this autocratic and Islamist regime have proven to be nothing more than an element of domestic repression against their own people. Foreign intelligence services have punctured this state multiple times. There's been at least 6 assassinations of Iranian nuclear scientists in the past 15 years. At least 3 missile engineers have been killed by allegedly foreign intelligence services. And even you've had a former Iranian minister of intelligence say that no Iranian official should be sleeping soundly at night given this high level of penetration. So the theory of a projectile hitting the building from outside versus the theory of a smuggled bomb from inside is really just designed to make this unpopular and despotic regime save some face.
Yeah, and for our viewers who are having a hard time keeping all of this straight and what's going on, what's Hamas, what's Hezbollah, really what we have to remember is that at the end of the day, all of it is just tentacles from Iran, isn't it? Also, let's get to this. This was a massive intelligence failure on Iran's part, and this isn't the first time an assassination has taken place in their backyard. In fact, a top nuclear scientist was killed. I think that was in 2020. What kind of an impact does this have on Iran's standing in the region?
Well, certainly in the region, the regime is not popular, and neither is the regime popular at home. You know, there's a vast chasm between state and society. In Iran, we can get to that, but the most obvious proof of that for the viewers is the nationwide 2022-2023 Women Life Freedom protest, or the Zan Zendegi Azadi anti-regime movement there. But in the region, the increasing military hand of the government of the Islamic Republic, the creating or the co-opting of these proxies, is designed that they realize that it's only through the barrel of the gun or through the missile or through any of these projectiles that they create and proliferate. That's their only vector of influence. And they prey on these downtrodden and dispossessed populations and then arm them to shoot at the people that the regime wants to shoot at.
Yeah, and I just don't want anybody to be putting their head in the sand and not listening to this, because Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin has deployed additional U.S. forces to the region. If Iran attacks again, what role could they play?
Well, we saw a very critical role the U.S. played in the April 13, April 14 Iranian missile and drone attack, where the vast majority of these interceptions actually occurred outside of Israeli airspace. And that was thanks to this very large integrative deterrent role that the U.S. security architecture played. I'm sure the U.S. could marshal an impressive architecture again, bring the Israelis, the Arabs, and the Europeans online. But here's the problem, that intercepting these munitions does not impose a sufficient cost on the people who are firing these munitions. So at some point in time, either this administration or the next one is going to have to think about creatively how to push back so the regime doesn't feel comfortable firing these weapons of war against us and our partners.
Yeah, and with the region on the brink of an open war and a wider war breaking out, some saying we're kind of teetering on it right now, are ceasefire negotiations off the table?
Well, certainly I think they're in pause in Qatar. There are some who are trying to spin the Israeli targeting of Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran as a way to get around the peace talks. I simply see that it's not to be the case. This was a target of opportunity for the Israelis. You've had basically the whole national security establishment since October 7 promised to go after the political and military elite of Hamas. This is that government, in my view, making good on that promise. As we know, concurrent to that, there is real pressure by the Biden administration here in Washington to try to get to some kind of a ceasefire agreement. But, when Israel is fighting a multi-front war and seeing the Biden administration not have a proper policy towards that orchestrator of these multiple fronts, you're going to get the dissonance that we see today.
What does all this mean for the hostages? We want them to come home. We don't want to forget about them.
Precisely. We can't afford to forget about them. But right now, I have to tell you, I think the situation is not looking good, at least in the short term.
Okay. Senior Fellow at the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies, Behnam Ben Taleblu. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Well, Ukrainian